Good morning, Uncle Brad. Have yourself
How are
a
you?
tequila
Good
sunrise.
morning. What are you talking about? It's
Well, I
nighttime.
mean, I don't know. This cocktail always reminds me of morning.
Oh, well, yeah. Yes.
So,
Tequila Sunrise. Of course.
yeah,
Of
yeah.
course. Duh. I don't know why I didn't pick up on that.
Yeah, it's okay. You know what? It's been a day. It's been a day,
It
and
has. Yeah.
yeah.
Now we're recording this on a Monday, and it's it's a Monday that's a holiday, and I am still I've got stuff I got to do tonight, so I'm not
No.
actually drinking today. But I do walk people through the Tequila Sunrise, which don't turn your nose up at it
Stop
just
it.
yet. Settle down.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. No, honestly, and I will tell you guys that the history here is more than you would think. I went into this thinking that there wasn't going to be a big history because I'm like, really? But this took a trip. There was a trip,
yeah,
a journey
there was
that
a
we
trip.
went
There was a
on.
journey
Yeah.
to be had. Yeah.
Yeah. But I will say I love this cocktail, specifically the riff that I do on this. I think I did this last spring, like a version of it. And I just, again, and we'll talk about it throughout the episode, but and maybe it's because I'm a tequila lover, but this is just like an easy cocktail. If you're using the right ingredients, it tastes delicious. And like anybody can put this together. Like I think that this is a neglected cocktail because I think
Totally.
so many people made this wrong with all the fake stuff that they forgot like its roots. And we'll get into the roots, won't we?
Yep. There is a right way and a wrong way to make this drink. And if you make it the right way, it's actually pretty good. You just need fresh orange juice and homemade grenadine, and boom, you've got a wonderfully tasting alternative
Yeah.
to a margarita or a Paloma or, whatever.
Yeah.
So, also, what you're going to find out here is there's actually a really OG recipe that goes back even further. And for the folks down in Arizona, you might be like, hey, yeah, I think we know that. Right. So, stick around for the history because we'll get into that. You're actually going to get a couple of cocktails, three
Yeah.
cocktails today for the price of one episode. So, and then we got tips, Jules, right? We got tips
Yeah.
after the history. Yeah.
We do. Yeah. So this was a Instagram question at Star Sharkins Instagram. And
I love how you say that unsure both times now.
but their question was favorite pre-made syrups for your bar. So we go into syrups again, but also more specifically ones that you should either make at home or invest in. We talk about that. And I will tell you, if you love the riffy doos, then this is the perfect tip section for you because syrups are a great way to riff on classics as we've learned.
They take what you would normally make and can put such an easy spin on things. It's just, it's get to know your syrups, and you'd be surprised, A, how easy it is to make syrups, but B, just like, you can take a French 75 and do a lavender French 75 suddenly.
Right.
It's just like, So,
Yeah.
yeah. with
Well,
lavender
Brad,
75.
before we go into the episode and the recipes, I want to ask, because we haven't done this in a while, what over the weekend, what cocktail, any notable cocktails that you had, that you sipped on? That
Boy, I tell you, yes. Okay. Yes. So, there is a Roquefort liqueur that is out there.
Roquefort?
Roquefort cheese liqueur.
No.
Exactly what you think
No.
it tastes like. Yes.
No.
Yeah, no, it's true. My neighbor, Ben, brought me a little bit of that to sample. And so I made martinis with it this weekend. Made vodka martinis, a little dry vermouth,
Cheesy?
little Roquefort liqueur in there, and
Wow.
nice potato vodka.
Yep.
And I got to tell you, it's actually really, really good. I dropped an olive in there. I didn't have
Yeah, of
blue cheese
course.
olives, unfortunately, but it tastes as though you've got a blue cheese olive in
there.
your martini.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Are
It's-
there any other cocktails based on the flavor that you would try to explore?
I don't know. Maybe I'd try
Maybe a
gin.
Bloody Mary.
Yeah. Oh, definitely a Bloody Mary.
Bloody
Actually, good
Mary.
call. Yeah. Yeah. I was pretty one hit wonder with that. But then also he brought these like Japanese bitters, and there's these umami bitters which taste like, what's that? The Japanese barbecue flavor. it's got that nice salty,
Yeah.
almost bacon-like
Yeah.
flavor to it, and a little, just a touch of like seaweed. It's so good. So I put a couple of drops of those in the martini, and it's like, oh my God, lights out.
Yeah.
And people are probably like, okay, what's the name of the stuff? I'll write it in the show notes so you have it, because I don't want to run downstairs and go pick it up out of the fridge. And
Yeah, no, I don't blame you. I don't blame you.
But oh my God, it was so good.
Wait, I love that. Okay, you'll have to let us know, post on the Insta, any recipes you do with the bitters.
Yeah, totally. You know what I'll do is I'll whip one of these up and I'll throw it up on the Instagram page along with Tequila Sunrises, both ways. And
Nice. Yeah. Well, I will. I'll close this out with you guys. I did it. I made the fish house punch, and oh my God! Not only was it easy to throw together, it was freaking delicious, and it was so fun to say. You know, people are like, "Oh, what's in this? I can't." I'll be like, "You know what's in there? History in a glass. History in a glass." It was so funny to like show them what was in this cocktail. I don't know. It was one of those where it was like classy, but it was a punch, and it just hit right in all the right places. And it served 25 people, which was like, holy smokes. And so it was great. It was great. It was one of those where you pour it over a large cube and you garnish it with fresh nut. It just, Brad, what a freaking recipe. Fantastic. Hats off. Can't wait to make it.
I love it. You went all the way back to episode 7. What you batching about? When we talked about the fish house. I didn't even drink today. We talked about the fish house punch, and that was actually one of my favorite ones to research because of the references to like George Washington and the founders, and just that was a fun one. So if you want a good story, go back to episode 7, all the way back in the beginning. God,
yeah, that's crazy.
September 20th, 22. Wow, that was a while ago.
Yeah, we've been at this.
Yeah.
Well, here we go. Another episode, the Tequila Sunrise. This could
Stick
be someone's
around,
favorite.
make it. I'm telling you, you're going to enjoy it.
A lot of people might be thinking, Brad, oh, this will be quick. But there's a right way to do this, and there's a wrong way to do this. So if you do it the right way, then you can call it quick. If you do it the wrong way, then you need to sit back down and come to class.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of thinking like the wrong way would be like you went out and bought some juice. Orange fresh orange juice. Yeah, you need the fresh orange juice.
You have to.
Yeah, and also you need homemade grenadine. Sorry,
you do.
It's just love your roses, but the rose is red, and
it's bad.
Anything like that, it's not going to cut it. Now you could go out and buy some bottled fancy schmancy grenadine, which hey. If money's no object to you time is short because you're going to have to probably order it, or maybe you have it down the street at your liquor store, go ahead and go do that.
Yeah, like what would that brand be? Liber & Co.? Don't they do some nice...
Yeah, they do nice things. They do nice things.
Yeah, they're
However, you don't have to do that. You can just go make grenadine, and I'm telling you, it's super simple. Just go get a thing of palm grenadine juice and a little sugar and a little lemon juice. And honestly, like, I think all you need is like 8 ounces of palm and I think it's a cup, or is it? Yeah, I think it's a cup of sugar and 1.5 teaspoons of lemon juice. Mm-hmm. That's all you need to make grenadine. You just bring it to a simmer, make sure all that sugar is melted, and then you just let it sit, come to room temperature. Boom, you've made grenadine that you didn't realize could taste so good.
Yeah, for the longest time, I think a lot of people thought that grenadine was cherry.
It's definitely not. No.
No.
I did for like a long time, and then one day I found out it was made from pomegranates. I was like, oh.
Pomegranates, yeah.
Wow.
They really do not market that roses, do they?
No. I mean, it's funny because, like how many times have you like taken the cherry juice out of like the maraschino cherry?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, and then just pour that into
yeah, I mean, that
delicious.
Works too. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not going to knock you.
Yeah, but that's not grenadine, folks.
No.
So now you know what real grenadine is. I hope you know what real orange juice is, because that comes from oranges. That's not that hard to make either. Mm-hmm. So, dude, just go out and get a couple of oranges, juice an orange, right? So you've got, what do we need here? We need what, 3 ounces, maybe 4 ounces, 4 ounces of orange juice. So, and then 2 ounces of tequila, right, in your glass. You've got, add ice to your Collins glass. Now you've got ice in there. You've got the 2 ounces of vodka in there. I'm sorry, did I say vodka? Holy smokes.
Whoa,
I'm making screwdrivers in my head.
Yeah,
you need 2 ounces of tequila blanco, and get a nice tequila blanco. Don't go get the cheap stuff. Just go get a kind of a decent middle of the road tequila blanco. You don't have to go over the top.
Right.
And then you just drizzle in the grenadine over the back of a spoon, and all you need is a 1/2 ounce of grenadine. And you just put your bar spoon in your glass, drizzle it so it kind of goes down the side of your glass into the bottom of your glass, not in the outside of the glass. And then that will kind of pool in the bottom a little bit. And then you just kind of gently put your bar spoon down there and just stir just ever so gently at the bottom. And it kind of creates, it mixes the stuff on the bottom and it creates that sunrise effect. Now, fair warning, you're going to get to the bottom of your glass once you start drinking it, and it's going to be really sweet. So if you want, take a picture. Wow, that's a pretty drink. And then just kind of mix to incorporate it so everything's all together.
Totally.
You know, and then, you know, you're probably down and looking for another one, because honestly, made with fresh orange juice, made with fresh grenadine, this is an awesome drink. I'm not making it right now because I got stuff to do tonight. But if
you can't.
I would totally be making one of these right now.
Yeah, it's hard on a Monday afternoon when we record these, isn't it, to have a breakfast cocktail?
Yeah, it's Yep.
Well,
So,
Brad, I'm making mine today.
all right. And I'm excited.
And we're excited because this is a take on the Tequila Sunrise,
That's good.
but also the Garibaldi. So I saw some similarities here.
Did you? Yep, I
Mainly
like it.
orange juice and also the color red. So I'm taking that. And here's the deal. When I wrote the recipe in our notes, and I will for our listener, I'll put both in there. I actually, the first was a spritz because that's just super easy. And who doesn't love a spritz in the morning? But then I saw my handy dandy milk frother, and I'm like, well, wait, why don't I try to froth this orange juice up and make like a Garibaldi Tequila Sunrise little refito? So that's what I'm going to do on the show today. But I will put both recipes on the website at the it's www.theartofdrinkingpodcast.com.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay. Yep.
All right.
So
by the way, I appreciate the way you wave around your milk frother like it's a wand. That's
I
that's
am
nice.
a fairy. Yes. So you have your wand, which is your
right.
milk frother, and then you have about 3 ounces of fresh squeezed orange juice. Now, I'm actually going to pour in my agave-based spirit, which, if you're wondering, it is in fact mezcal that I'm putting in there.
Weird.
However,
Weird.
Yeah, but you
Surprise.
couldn't believe that. But you most definitely can use tequila, especially if you want to make this more of like a tequila sunrise. But I
How
like
much you putting in there? What is that? 1.5 ounces?
ounce and a half.
Yeah, all right.
Why not?
Yeah, and you can play around, like you can riff on the Tequila Sunrise, folks. So don't feel like
Yeah,
you're
just look at
beholden
me.
to just the recipe that we all know and love well here. So all right, so you got an 1.5 ounces of mezcal in there.
Yeah, and I got my 3 ounces of orange juice. I'm gonna froth.
Frothing. How long are you
Commencing
frothing
the
it?
froth.
Could you shake it if you wanted to, or you think frothing
Sure.
is just okay? All right.
Yeah, why not?
Okay. Well, maybe cue the music here while you finish your frothing. Maybe about 20 seconds.
Let's see. How much? How are we gonna get any? A little bit. I like when it gets really, really fluffy, and I think with a Garibaldi, it's more like 5 ounces of fresh squeezed orange juice.
Okay, so we're sufficiently fluffed there. All right.
Yeah, look at that fluff.
Yeah, you got a little fluff on there. All right.
I'm gonna add in ice to my tall glass. The Collins glass is preferred here.
Yeah, you want the tall glass because you got a lot of ingredients going into the drink. So I've seen a Tequila Sunrise oddly made in a rocks glass, and I'm sorry, I just don't feel like that looks right.
I don't either.
Yeah, if it's like if you want that sunrise effect, you kind of want something that's going to give you the whole like kind of like landscape look, right? That's just
Totally.
Not enough horizon in that rocks glass. All right, Jules.
Okay, sorry. This ice just really is taking its sweet
fighting
ass
you.
time.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I'm gonna break a finger. Okay, so I'm gonna pour in my orange juice, right?
All right, orange juice going in first. Nice and fluffy. Okay, and you're about 3/4 of the way up the glass.
Yep, and I'm gonna add in an ounce of Aperol, and I'm still gonna do what I plan to do. So I'm gonna do, I'm gonna do an ounce. Whoa, that was maybe a little over.
Whoops, may have to sip it off the top a little bit. It's okay.
That
It's
was
your
maybe
shake.
close.
It's your jigger. It's your jigger.
Wow, I haven't made a cocktail on live streaming with you for a while.
All right, I like it. Just going right to the jigger, taking a sip. Champ, that's what you are. You're a champ. All right.
Okay,
Ounce goes in the glass. Here we go.
Ready?
Booyah, yeah.
What?
All right.
There we
Nice.
go. Sunrise.
That's settled
feeling.
beautifully, kind of down mid-glass, and it's kind of making its way
come on.
south.
And
All right.
then,
So you got about a quarter left in the top of that glass.
what? Spindrift grapefruit flavor that just plays with the citrus notes and the Aperol.
All right.
Who would have thought?
So grapefruit. All right.
Yeah.
Nice. So you're topping off with that. And look at that. Nice and kind of nice. Have a little head on the top of that.
Yeah, right?
And that is a good sunrise. You've got the red on the bottom, the kind of yellow orange in the middle, and kind of yellowish pale on the top.
So take your mental picture, because I'm going to mix this together because I want even distribution.
Stevens, she wants an evenly tasted drink. All right, well, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So
I
our
hope you took your
sunrise
mental
has
pick.
moved into sunset,
Uh-huh.
and we got a red sky. How do we like it? That's good. Okay.
It's just refreshing.
We have approval.
Yeah, good morning. How you doing? Let's
Good
do
morning.
something that's light and refreshing. Yeah.
Yeah, this is a
great.
breakfast cocktail. Why not? I mean, we're talking sunrises, right?
Oh my God. If I were down in Mexico and this is what I was welcomed to first thing in the morning, oh, I'm not going to have a bad day. Are you
No.
kidding me? No.
Kidding me? Yeah.
No. And this is one of those where when you have the fresh orange juice in there, you have the Aperol in there, which has the citrus notes that plays so well. For me, I just think that this works really well, especially because I do love agave and amaro mixed together, which I know isn't as popular as some would think, but I think the notes just play so well. And this cocktail is the perfect testament to that.
All right.
Yeah.
Sold. Yeah. Looks beautiful. Nice.
Yeah, so what should we call that? The Tequila Sunrise Spritz?
Yeah. So you didn't have a name for that, huh? All right. Well, Tequila Sunrise Spritz sounds good to me.
Yeah, right? It's straightforward, right?
Kind of short on creative ideas here. Throw the hot potato my way. I don't know. What would be a good name for that?
Like a little afternoon delight. No,
The,
I think we named something that.
Yeah, the Oaxacan sunset, the Oaxacan sunrise.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, what did I just say?
The
What is it?
Oaxacan sunrise.
All right.
Yeah,
Boom.
that's it. That's it.
Oaxacan sunrise.
All right. Well, there you go.
Well-
Those are the two cocktails. Well, 3 if you go on the website, because I am going to post another one. Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe more. Stay tuned.
Yeah, who knows?
Stay tuned. Yeah. Here we go. Let's go into the history. I've got fun things to
Okay.
tell you.
Ooh, okay.
All
I'm
right,
ready.
Here we go. All right, Jules.
Okay. I always like to think about this and
Please
the
do.
Tequila Sunrise.
Yes.
I want to say like the 90s.
Oh, no.
Wow.
No,
Okay.
you're way off. I thought you would have said like the 70s. Right.
Yeah. Well, I
Which
just
makes
felt like I was thinking grenadine, like the rise of grenadine. Like, was that
Yeah.
popular back in the 70s? Was it popular?
Sure was.
Yeah,
Sure
okay.
was. Yeah,
Sure was.
actually, grenadine was a thing. I think it was turn of the century, if I
Yeah, you're
remember
right.
correctly. Well, listen. So I'm going to give you a pass on account of you're younger than me, and there's a song out there. It's another tequila sunrise. You know that song
No.
by the Eagles?
No.
All right.
No.
Well, we'll talk
Not a
about that too.
Okay. 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 So yeah, it's like what came first, the chicken or the egg?
Yeah.
Did the song come first or?
Yeah. So yeah, more on that in a second. So let me take you further back than you thought you were gonna go.
Sure. Yeah. Okay.
January 17th, 1920. Sad.
Oh my God.
Sad day in
Okay.
America. The Volstead Act went into effect, and a total of 1,520 federal agents were set to march and charged with the enforcement of prohibition. So this sent the American cultural icon, which was the cocktail, kind of into refuge, right? Like our creativity stopped at this moment, and the golden age of cocktails ended for us here in the United States, but began other places, right? So Europe picked up the slack, and other countries were picking up the slack because Jules, we needed to keep the cocktail movement going. People found cocktails and like, oh my God, this is such a great way to express creativity, but also to maybe get a nice little buzz and get happy. So the cocktail goes underground in America and goes way above ground in other parts of the world.
Right.
I'm gonna try to give you a second chance here on the Tequila Sunrise.
Oh boy.
Where do you think it was invented? Just give me a country.
A country.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I'm making this
Spain.
harder than it needs to be. Oh my God, no. It's
I
Mexico.
was thinking like coastal. I was thinking a coastal country.
Yeah. No, it's not a bad guess. I'm sorry. I kind of set you up to lead you to believe that would be something less obvious. No, it was Mexico. So, but
okay. That was
Yeah.
a trick question.
that
'Cause-
was a trick. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'm
yeah,
sorry.
because like that would have been my first guess, but I'm like,
Yeah.
well, if he's asking me, then it must not be.
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry. That was dirty. So here's the deal. There's actually a couple of places. And actually, we're going to talk about 3 different Tequila Sunrise stories here.
Whoa,
So there's a
okay.
couple of places that lay claim to the earliest version of the Tequila Sunrise. And one such place that we used to go vacation in as people who were refugees of prohibition here, at least temporarily, going on
Yeah.
vacation, we would go to Tijuana. And specifically in Tijuana, there was a place called the Agua Caliente Racetrack Hotel, Spa, and Casino. And this is where wealthy Americans and Hollywood elites would flock to, as gambling was illegal in California, but drinking obviously illegal in the United States. So they go down there, have some fun, and play.
Yeah.
And it was here that some say, and those that say this include cocktail historian David Wondrich, that the Tequila Sunrise was born somewhere in the early 1930s. And it had to be somewhere in the early 1930s because, or maybe even late 1920s, because the place closed in 1935. Okay. So according to their record, the recipe was printed in Bottoms Up, which was a guide from the Agua Caliente. Now, I haven't seen it. It's I think Wondrich came across it. So this printed version apparently was found, and it calls the Sunrise, not Tequila Sunrise, it calls it the Sunrise, and it lists the drink for 25 cents. And the
Oh, the
original
good old
recipe
days.
called for tequila, lime juice,
Okay.
creme de cassis, grenadine, and healthful agua caliente roca blanca water. And if you don't have it, you can use seltzer water. Interestingly enough, in this same publication, directly next to the recipe for the Sunrise, was followed by a remedy to help you break a cold in the early stages, and that was a shot of tequila. No, first it was a pinch of salt,
Yep.
then a shot of tequila, and then biting into half a lemon. So there you go. You have the birth possibly of the tequila shot with training wheels that we're all used to with lime next to the Sunrise. So that is what most people believe, thanks to Wondrich, but not everybody, because if you ask the folks who run the Arizona Biltmore Hotel in Phoenix, Arizona, they say, no, our boy, bartender Gene Sulit, or Sulit, however you want to say it, Sulit, devised this drink for guests seeking a refreshing little tipple that was poolside to beat the Arizona heat. And that was sometime in the late 1930s or early 1940s. And as the story goes, there was a guest who frequented the establishment, this swanky hotel, and he would ask Mr. Sulit to surprise him with something that he had not had before. So this guy spins up a tall sipper using Blanco tequila, cream de cassis, lime juice, and club soda. Oddly very similar to the one that was invented in Mexico. I believe chances are he got his hand. I mean, Arizona's down there. It's in the southern part of the state, southwest, right? Like he probably got his hands on the cocktail recipe and just said, hey, look, here's something that no one's had before. And I just came across this. Gives it to this guest. Boom. The Biltmore says, yeah, we invented it. So I don't know. Like I kind of lean on,
I always
especially
go, written.
Early's better, and you know, especially when people start saying it was in print. So I go with Wondrich's estimation, especially since the guy put a lot of time into research and writing a book. So I give him the credit.
Right? Yeah. No, I'm telling you, if it's and it sucks, right? Because think about the drama. Like, what if there was another written one? It was like two guys against each other, but then the other guy burned it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like there is that kind of drama.
Totally.
However. Yeah. Now, I still believe if it's on pen and paper, I gotta go with that one. I gotta go with that one. If it's long enough, you know?
Yep.
Yeah, there were no phones.
By now, if you're like me or, you know, listeners, are probably thinking, okay, so this sounds actually kind of good. How do you make one of those? So here's the recipe for that. So 1.5 ounces of Blanco tequila, 1/2 ounce of lime juice, 1/4 ounce of grenadine, 1/2 teaspoon of cream de cassis, 2 drops of saline solution, and you top it with soda water.
Yeah.
Same deal. Gives you the hazy little look, you know.
Now I know why you were being cheeky in the last section. Okay, we got a couple recipes going on. I like
couple recipes going on. Yeah, so you got a 3-fer today. All right.
Yeah, nice.
So, all right. So those were the 2 recipes which look nothing.
Right. Well, where's the orange
like,
juice?
Yeah, what we're used to today. So there was an evolution that was involved here. All right. So enter the Trident restaurant in Sausalito, California.
Hey. Okay.
The Trident was owned by members of the Kingston Trio, which I don't know if you know who the Kingston Trio is, but it's kind of an early rockish type band, but like really kind of like, you know, your grandparents type of rock and roll, like just the not the good stuff.
No,
sorry, people are probably like, "What are you talking about?" The Kingston Trio? They were like, well, you know, seminal. Sure, I'm not one for the doo-woppy, you know.
Oh, doo-wop. I kind of like it. I'm an old soul though.
Kind of rockabilly, I guess you'd call it. Anyways, I'm butchering this. I should not be quoting musical genres. All right. So this place was kind of a cool spot in San Francisco. It was known for its music, beautiful waitresses, and being ahead of the curve. It was one of the first places to have an espresso bar, to offer sashimi, offer fresh juices and stuff. And we're talking like 60s, dude, like late 60s, right?
Right.
And here's a fun fact. Robin Williams was once a busboy there.
Oh, no way.
So this place was frequented by people like Janis Joplin, Carlos Santana, the Rolling Stones, the Hells Angels, and even the LA Raiders, which I don't know if it was the LA Raiders at the time, but there's a story there with the Raiders apparently getting into a fight with the Hells Angels because the Hells Angels were acting up and maybe got a little too rough in the establishment. Somebody threw an ashtray, almost hit a waitress, and the football team stands up.
God.
And the Hells Angels stand up and rise to the challenge. And I guess the story goes is that the Hells Angels were flying around the bar like cartoon characters being thrown around a room
by the
football players.
That makes sense. God, I wouldn't want to fight either of those people, but also
no.
Yeah, I mean, any kind of motorcycle gang bar stories that just checks out. That just makes sense.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, here's the interesting thing, right? So it's 69. The Trident was also the epicenter of Northern California's marijuana trade. So,
Okay.
yeah. So marijuana funneling through and into, like, David Crosby had a boat not far away. Like, we're talking like people like this place for lots of reasons, and
Sure.
rock and rollers hung out there because of its musical roots. And I don't know, kind of run the
Party.
numbers, right?
Yeah.
So also, they sold more tequila in this bar in the late 60s and 70s than every other bar in America put together. At least so says one bartender, Bobby Lozoff. So Bobby is the guy who is now taken front and center stage here because he joins this bar as a young bartender. He started out as a busboy, makes his way up to bartender, really young guy. But he takes bartending very seriously, right? So Lozoff wanted to be a good bartender, so he would experiment with drinks. And really kind of anything that was made with gin or vodka, he tried to sub in tequila, right?
Sure.
So kind of like
familiar.
Jules, anything that's made with gin or vodka, you try to sub in mezcal.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
No. It's a good rule of thumb, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
So one day he was messing around with like the Singapore sling, took gin, threw it out the window, made it with tequila, used a shot of sweet and sour mix, then orange juice, and a float of creme de cassis shows up again.
Come on.
And a little grenadine, and calls it a Tequila Sunrise. So, nothing like a Singapore sling that I made, but, that's Bobby's story, and this is what he said when I was reading the interview with him. So Bobby, is the bartender. He is now a well-respected bartender there, and they are a hot spot, so they've got to move drinks right in mass quantities. And so Bobby eventually reduces the drink down to orange juice, tequila, and grenadine just for the sake of speed, right? So I mean, he was making hundreds of drinks an hour, because this isn't just some place where people go sit down and like have a fine dinner. It's like it's a bar, and you're rocking and rolling, right?
Yeah.
So if you've had one, what am I saying here? Sorry, I just lost myself in my notes. Edit this out, Brad. Okay. So for anybody who's questioning, right, like, I don't know, is Tequila Sunrise like really that great of a drink? Like, think about, like, whenever you kind of want a tequila drink, but you don't want a margarita, you don't want a Paloma, like, maybe a Tequila Sunrise, right? Like, if it's made the right way.
Right.
And so this captured kind of people's interest. And so I wouldn't say the drink necessarily took off at this moment that he was making them. But once something happened, and it was a turning point for this drink and Bobby, this drink went global. And that is when, in 1972, the Rolling Stones are back in the United States for their first tour since this unfortunate incident back in '69 in Altamont, that's when like they had the Hells Angels as like security. 4 people died. It wasn't at the hands of the Hells Angels, but it was a scene. Like it got to be a deal, right?
Yeah.
So they haven't been back in the United States, right? And they're a little on edge, but they've got to go, they've got to go tour and push their new album, which was Exile on Main Street. So this tour, now we're back in '72, apparently really kind of set the tone for what bad behavior looks like in rock and roll, right? Like, this is like they were throwing TVs out windows. There was sex, there was drugs, there was arrests. Like, it was like a thing. So the Stones, having had that bad experience in '69, were like, yeah, we're coming back, but we're doubling down now, right? So apparently the band was on edge one night, and they were in California, right? And they're going out, and the band's manager wanted to take them out, kind of knock the edge off a little bit before their concert, right, the night before. So it's a Monday night. The place is closed. The Trident is closed, but they open it up just for the Rolling Stones and a group of about 35 people. And Bobby gets called into work. And so here he is. I believe the exact date might have been Monday, June 5th, 1972, because they were on stage at the Winterland Ballroom in San Francisco on Tuesday, June 6th. So if you want to know a date that might mark, like, I don't know, maybe make it Tequila Sunrise Day, right, is June 5th, because I have a feeling this is when this stuff took off. So anyways, the Trident gets rented out. The Stones are there. Mick Jagger, Keith Richards, the band, they're all there with, their group of people and people that the band manager wanted to put them together with. Mick Jagger walks up to the bar and asks Lozoff for a margarita. But Bobby Lozoff, says, "Hey, Mick, have you ever had a Tequila Sunrise?" To which the answer was no. So Bobby makes him a Tequila Sunrise, and it like hits, right? Like it hits big with Jagger and the rest of the band. And so they are like drinking these things up all night long. But there's more, because Bobby said, "Hey, you know what? Why don't I teach you guys how to make this drink? Because it's super simple. 3 steps. You got your tequila, you got your orange juice, and you got your grenadine." Shows them how to make the drink. And Keith Richards is like, "Hell yeah, man. Yeah. We need tequila, orange juice, and grenadine everywhere we go from now on the bus, in the hotels, backstage, at the concerts, everywhere."
Fanboy. Yeah.
Yeah. And then it's interesting because later, Keith Richards in 2010 writes a book, and the book's called Life. And in that book, he said that tour became known as the Cocaine and Tequila Sunrise Tour.
Oh my God.
So they drank these things everywhere. They brought them with them everywhere.
I couldn't imagine getting like hammered off Tequila Sunrises though.
Totally. So now I told you that they sell more tequila than anywhere else, right?
Yeah.
And Jose Cuervo takes notice. So now it's 1973, right? The Stones are drinking their Tequila Sunrises and loving life, right? Jose Cuervo gets a hold of this, and they see an opportunity, and so they pounce. So they approach the Trident, got the recipe, and even put the recipe on the back of the Jose Cuervo gold bottles. Yep.
Damn, that's a big deal.
Then in the same year, the Eagles released their song Tequila Sunrise, which actually, interesting, has nothing to do with the drink itself. It's more about drinking tequila until the sun comes up.
Right. Yeah.
The drink is out there.
Yeah.
The song is a top 100. The drink is on the back of bottles. People go nuts, and this thing gets launched into like the disco era and the dark age of cocktails, sadly. But it's like it just becomes a sensation. And actually, it's on the International Bartenders Association's list of cocktails. So it's like an international hit. And that is how the Tequila Sunrise went from like this obscure spa drink for the rich and famous to getting dusted and lost. And then some guy resurfaces the drink possibly, or just renames something else that oddly has some similar ingredients involved.
Yeah,
puts it in the hand of a rock and roller. That band says, "Yeah, we want it everywhere we go," and Jose Cuervo gets a hold of it. The drink just takes off. Now Bobby makes $0 on this, and it wasn't until like not that long ago that people even knew this guy made the drink. But like he was like finally like, you know what? God damn it! Kind of like Neil Murray, like, "Hey, FYI." Yeah. I made that drink. That's my drink. Neil Murray being the guy who invented the Cosmopolitan.
Right.
So there you have it.
But it is kind of funny how it evolved down.
Yeah, it did.
You know what I mean?
Right. It didn't get more sophisticated. It got less sophisticated.
Yeah.
But that's what we were into back in the 70s. You know?
Yeah, it's true. You know, it was funny. It stuck with me. You brought up Paloma at the beginning of the history. And God, you know, it's so interesting because you have the margarita and you have the Paloma, which I would argue are the 2 most popular tequila drinks right now. But when you think about it, like the Tequila Sunrise isn't much different at all than the Paloma, right?
No.
It's grapefruit soda. I mean, we have orange. It's just really interesting that people think that the Tequila Sunrise is a little bit more gimmicky. However, like you have... I don't know.
It's pretty gross when you make it with like the
when it's bad. It's bad.
I shouldn't say it's gross. It can be gross, right? Like if you use crappy mixto tequila and you're using crappy orange juice and you're using like straight grenadine, I mean it's just sickness and it's just diabetes waiting to happen, right? Like it's just ugh, you know, but fresh orange juice, like, oh my God, you ever go to a restaurant and order a glass of fresh orange juice? Like, tell me that doesn't like like taste
Oh,
1,000 times better than just a regular glass of
fresh
old
squeeze or
simply.
orange juice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you make it with the right stuff, and suddenly this thing like becomes a hit. And by the way, I also challenge people like go make it the original way, the way I just told you.
Yeah, I
Like,
really want to do that.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's like that's nice, light, and refreshing as well. All right, Jules. Last thing before we go, I got another quiz for you, and this one you'll be able to make up points real easy.
Great.
Right. What is in a Caribbean sunrise?
Well, rum,
Yes. How about a Russian sunrise?
vodka,
Yes. Southern sunrise? Getting higher?
Kentucky bourbon.
No. Southern comfort.
Oh,
All right. This one you might not get. Astronaut sunrise.
gin.
No. It's Tang instead of orange juice. I don't even think you know what Tang is. Do you know what Tang
No,
is?
no, it's no, I'm thinking
Yeah.
of something else.
No. That's something that we used to drink in the 80s.
What
and
is
70s.
Tang?
It's a powdered orange drink that
Ew. No, I'm looking this up really quickly. Tang.
Tang. I don't even know
Stop
if they,
it.
yeah, I don't even know if they
Stop
still
it.
make Tang.
Oh, terrible. Is that like what people think would give them vitamin C?
Yeah, I mean, you know, if you're bougie, when I was a kid, you didn't have Tang, you had Sunny D. So just throwing that out
See,
there.
I thought you were referring to Ting, which is Ray and Ting. Have you heard of that?
No?
It's an overproof Jamaican rum. God, there's a drink when we were down in Jamaica for a work trip. It was a Ting, and oh God, I'll have to look it up. But it was the locals looked at me. They're like, "How do you know to order this?" And I was like, "I'm in the know. I'm in the know."
All
But
right.
I don't remember. It was you order it like very cool. You're like, "Can I get like a cola and Ting or something like that?" But yeah. So anyway, different than Tang. Much different than Tang.
Dude.
I'll
yeah.
take the overproof rum. That's mine.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. 100%. So there you go, folks. That's it. That is the history of the Tequila Sunrise. I thought
Kind
this
of a
history
good
was going to be
history.
boring as heck. And just
Yeah.
this is going to have some obscure, like, oh, you shut up in a bartender's book manual. Like, kinda like
Yeah.
you got to search for a news story here. But it's like, oh, wow, this was a good one. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not bad. I liked
So
it.
thank
I
you,
liked
Rolling
it.
Stones.
Yeah, no, they really made this. Them and the
Eagles?
motorcycle gang,
The
the
Hells Angels.
Hells Angels. Yep.
Yeah. They didn't really have much to do with it, but
I like that they were involved though.
they're
It
involved.
made it more
Getting
interesting.
thrown around a bar. Yeah.
Well, cool. All right.
All right.
Tequila Sunrise.
Let's go on to tips.
All right. Sounds good. All right. Now we're on to tips, which I actually thought was kind of funny because we talked about grenadine today, and
Yeah.
grenadine is a syrup. And our question came in from, it's on Instagram. So this is their @handle. It's @StarSharkins. I believe I'm saying that right.
Sweet.
Yep. And their question was favorite pre-made syrups for your bar. And this is a great question, especially because syrups, when you make them at home, should last in your fridge for about 2 to 4 weeks. In the fridge, again, in the fridge. And always make sure that you have like syrup bottles that, because I've had some that have like an opening when you pour it out. Make sure that you have another like stopper
Like an
top.
airtight, yeah.
Yeah. Because you don't, then it'll last more like 2 weeks rather than the full 4. So, this is a great question.
So sealing it, you get more time out of it.
Exactly. Yeah. Because
And then
I've
you add a
fallen
little
victim.
vodka to it, you get even more time out of it.
Well, you know that is like the biggest. So when I was on my book tour, that was the biggest. Like everybody gasped when I said that. Like, oh my God, I had no idea. And still to this day, I love saying this tip. If you add in a shot of vodka, which is a neutral grain spirit, which doesn't have flavor, I would argue, it will help. I mean, Brad, how long will it stay in the fridge?
Yeah, I mean, not FDA endorsed here, but
Right.
you should probably get another couple of weeks out of it for sure. I mean, what you're looking for is like, and I always look at my syrups because I've always got a ton of different syrups happening, and like I'll try to rotate them out. Just hold the syrup up, shake it against the light. If it looks like you got cloudy little strands in there,
that's
that's
mold.
called mold,
Yeah.
and you don't want that.
We toss that. Yeah, we
But-
toss that out.
But if you don't have those strands and you feel like, I don't know, like I'll push it sometimes,
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
But I do not recommend, right? Like just be on the safe side. And kind of like, and I'm sorry, Jules, maybe I'm stealing your run, but
No.
here's the thing. I had the bad habit for a long time of making too much syrup. And
Yeah.
it's a bummer because I hate throwing out banana simple syrup. I hate throwing out, grenadine. I hate throwing
Yeah.
out cinnamon simple syrup. Anything I put a little love and care into, which, by the way, it's called simple syrup for a reason. It's all really easy to make.
Yeah, right.
But, still, you hate to waste. So,
Well, and listener, I will always give the tip if you know you're not going to be making a lot of cocktails with this syrup, then instead of it's equal parts usually, unless you're making a 2-to-1 rich syrup. So if it says a full cup and you know that you don't run through those, is put it a half because it's equal parts water and sugar. So just like cut it in half, which I do that all the time actually, and that way I can have a lot of really, imaginative syrups like a lavender and lime zest yuzu syrup, right? Where it's like if you make a bunch of that, it's probably going to go bad.
Here's a tip on this too. People often, they're probably asking right now because I often ask the same question. It's like, well, how much does 1 cup of water, 1 cup of sugar, which is kind of like the universal, simple syrup recipe,
Right.
like how much does that make? Right.
Yeah.
So the answer is that will yield you 1 3/4 cup of simple syrup. So 1 cup is 8 ounces. So now you're going to get 8 ounces plus another 6. So you're up to 14 ounces of simple syrup with 1 cup sugar, 1 cup water. So figure how many drinks that is. Most drinks are probably a 1/4 ounce to a 1/2 ounce. You've got some distance.
Yeah, that's
with,
a lot.
with just a cup.
Yeah. So to answer this question, I'll say a few of mine. Brad, you can jump in as well. But my favorite pre-made to have for your bar. Also, you can use almost all of these for like your morning coffee, something, or your teas. I always recommend have your classic simple syrup, obviously. I would also argue to have a vanilla syrup. I think that is just great to have on hand. The other one I will say, because Brad, I see your notes here and I want you to talk about the syrups. The only other one that isn't on Brad's list that he's going to list off is orgeat syrup. And that one,
that's next level.
I think it's next level. I think it's something that's neglected on people's bars, especially as we near summer. I feel like orgeat is it's such a freaking good syrup, especially for cocktails, that I would recommend having that one. And as much as I would love to say that I make this one homemade, I do buy this one. Again, Liber & Co.
Yeah,
I
Liber & Co
believe
makes an awesome orgeat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But those are mine. Brad, I see yours, which are important. So I'm going to let you finish this syrups.
Sure. Yeah. So, we talked about the banana simple syrup earlier in the.
I'm so glad you jumped on that train.
Oh my God. I love it so much. Yeah. Love banana simple syrup. You can make a ginger simple syrup. And by the way, all these recipes are just super easy to find out there.
Yeah.
Like it's just, all of it is, if you just do 1 cup water, 1 cup sugar, slice up ginger. Or if you want to make cinnamon simple syrup, take a bunch of, maybe like a handful of cinnamon sticks, crack them, right? And throw them in there and bring it to a simmer and then let it, go to room temperature.
Right.
Demerara simple syrup.
That's a good one.
Demerara is great with anything brown. Like obviously you're talking bourbon whiskeys here. So that's a great simple syrup for old fashions. I like to make a rich simple syrup, which is 2-to-1. So now you're probably doing a cup of sugar and a 1/2 cup of water, or a cup of Demerara sugar or a 1/2 cup of water. So that one you might want something with just a little bit more weight, but more sweetness to it, but you don't want to like add a bunch more liquid to the cocktail. You can do a rich simple syrup. But if you don't, and you just do kind of like these 1-to-1 ratios, like you could play lavender. There's all kinds of simple syrups you could play with. So,
but I think the Demerara is great. You can use that in like an espresso martini. The banana in an old fashioned is fantastic. The ginger syrup and say a Gold Rush, like those are some great cocktails that you can just make when you have these syrups. And then again, we talked about it in this episode. So what I'll leave you with, the last syrup that you should have is grenadine, because as we've discussed, a couple of cocktails that use grenadine and homemade is way better. So I recommend having that as well.
And
But
all
yeah,
of
I
these
mean,
go great
Brad, to
in
your
NA
point.
cocktails too. Like all of these syrups make you a hero. Just
Exactly.
you can add them to so many things. It doesn't have to be alcohol too. So
Yeah. Yeah. You could do like a little Italian soda if you want and
yeah.
make your own syrup. Yeah.
Raspberry simple syrup. Oh, in the summertime, I'll make a huckleberry simple syrup because there's trees
Ooh.
out here that.
Oh, yeah, that's the last thing I will give on this tip with syrups is yes, it's equal parts water and sugar, but think about sugar for a minute. That could be honey. That could be, I've done it with agave too. Sometimes you get like thick agave, and so you can mix that with new flavors as well. So you can also brown sugar, you can use different types of sugars for this simple syrup. But to stay safe, if you're just starting out, start with regular white granulate CNH
Beer cane
organic
sugar.
cane sugar. And then you can start exploring. But yeah, syrups are
You
great.
mentioned one thing. Honey syrup is
Yeah.
great, easy to make also, and I would recommend if you're going to make a honey syrup, you don't need sugar. It's just honey and water, equal parts again.
Yep.
But then use acacia honey, which is not a brand; it's a type. And the reason is that it is super runny and it is super easy to work with warm water. So,
Yep.
Yep.
Yep. Oh, okay. Yum. I love syrups. That's literally, if you're ever looking for a riffy do, syrups, baby.
Yeah.
Just
You
change it
can
out.
play and do so many great things with cocktails and change the profile of cocktails so easily. It's
Yeah.
you are now a mixologist.
Haha.
Well, Jules, next week.
Yes.
Next week we've got the flaming. This is your idea.
Was it?
It was your idea. The flaming Dr. Pepper. A shot. The flaming Dr.
Why did
Pepper.
I pick this one?
I don't know.
Was I trying to mess with you?
I think you were. And now here we are. And I have went and done my research on it and everything. I have yet to make it. So,
Oh, so you're making it.
yeah. No,
yeah.
this is what I'm doing for the next week and a half is trying flaming Dr. Pepper shots
Oh my god.
to figure out the way I like it the best. But all I know for sure is you need amaretto, you need light beer. Sounds like Miller Lite's the one to go with according to certain recipes. And 151 rum or Everclear. So maybe hold your horses on making that. Actually, if you go buy Everclear, you can go do fun things like making limoncello. You can make your own bitters and stuff like
True,
that. But
true.
so if you want something to play with, go get some Everclear. Actually, get some
hell am I gonna
151
riff
too
on
while you're out
this?
there. Who doesn't want to start a fire? So,
Yeah, sure. Wow. Okay, well, we got our work cut out for us for next week.
Yeah.
Next 2 weeks.
There you go. All right.
All right.
See ya.